Good morning and happy Friday. It is the last Friday of January, and it's myself, Randy Mendez, with the Mendez Home Team at eXp Realty, along with Sharon at Alameda Mortgage. And today we are doing our Money Matters. And today we're going to be talking about 7 things that most buyers wish they knew before they bought. Right, Sharon?
Absolutely.
Happy Friday. I know you guys are a big, skiing family. So are you so excited for fresh powder?
I am, except that they make you make reservations out in Tahoe, and I messed up my reservations. But we'll ski sometime this weekend. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I heard that. I have a client who's coming into town and he lives in Carolina, and the pandemic took him remote. And so he was talking about, like, he was thinking about moving to, where did he say? I don't remember where he said, but he was like, what am I doing? I want to ski. So I'm going to move to Reno because I want to be able to hit the slopes. And so anyways, he called me and he's like, I was going on vacation elsewhere until I heard about your snow. So then we were trying to set the days that he was going to look at property. And he was like, yeah, no. So those are my ski reservations. So it won't be happening these days. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you have to, he's like, you have to make a reservation. He's like, so it won't be happening on this day. And I was like, all right, well, good to know. So priorities. All right. Well, I'm excited to talk about these 7 items. And I also think it kind of gives people a glimpse, this is where I start. So the number one item is that talking, how was it worded? Shopping around for a mortgage should be like speed dating lenders. And I have to tell you, Sharon, and I don't know if you love hearing this, but this is kind of one of the first conversations I have with people when I'm talking to them about buying a house. So I do let them know that there's absolutely lenders that I edify, and I have a list of preferred lenders. And I will tell you, yourself included, are on that list, not because everything goes perfect, but because of how you rise to the occasion when it doesn't. But I do explain to them that it's important to kind of get that first approval and then shop it, right? Because it can be really powerful. And I think a lot of times, I don't know if you experience this, but for me, a lot of my clients, especially my first time home buyers, are just so stoked to have an approval. It's like I worked so hard and then they get that approval and like they don't budge. Like I've seen buyers, and it's hard for me because I don't ever want to step on toes, but I've had concerns with lenders at times, like just especially in this market, turnaround time, speed. It's so important, communication. And I find that the buyers don't want to budge. They're like, oh, no. Like I'm approved with that person. I'm not changing anything. I'm not moving. And they're really nervous. So what do you think about this whole, speed dating lenders and shopping and really, taking your time to talk to several lenders as opposed to just going with the first approval?
I agree with it. I 100% agree with it. I think that it is the biggest purchase you make in your life. You should absolutely make sure, are you getting the best rate? Are you getting the best product? Lenders' products are pretty close to being the same across the board. Rates are always different. We also have an opportunity to shop what's called mortgage insurance, MI. We can shop the mortgage insurance. We can shop the rate. A lot of people don't understand that also the government allows you to pull your credit as many times as you want when you're shopping for a car or a mortgage. So that mortgage pull only counts against you one time, even if you pull it 10 times. Same thing with the car. You should never be stuck in anything. You should always have that right to shop around, look around. And it isn't always about rate. It's not like, oh, who has the best rate? You're right. It is about who can perform. We talk about local lenders and we steer away from like the Wells Fargo and the Bank of America's because sometimes they're too big. And even though they have the best rate, they don't give the best service when it comes to a purchase. I don't want to put them down or anybody, but I'm saying, but that happens. They're a big company. Their $250,000 loan doesn't mean as much as it does to us smaller lenders and smaller agents and things like that. So I absolutely think people should shop around. And once again, it's not always about rate. It is about service, rate, pricing, all of that good stuff. Communication.
Well, I was going to say, I think you just brought up 2 really killer points. So number one, I think it's a huge misconception that when you shop the mortgage, that it'll damage you, right? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that there were some changes to that in our last downturn to make sure that there was some more consumer protection. So they had options. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So I think that that's a huge point. And I think that the second point is also kind of evaluating that service, because here's the thing that, that is important. I'm a person who will pay for convenience. I'm also a person who likes things to be done a certain way, and I will pay for that. Like my husband and I often have conversations because he's like, I'm not paying $10 extra for that. And I'm like, no, I mean, my mom and I literally just were walking through Target this week, and she's like, let's just go to the dollar store and get birthday bags. And I was like, I am not going to the dollar store and driving to another store that is not in my path and getting out of the car and going in to save $4 on 2 birthday bags. I'll pay the $8 at Target. And the lady next to me, of course, is looking at me like the lady at the store is like, okay. But this is that sometimes, I mean, I personally, and this is our advice to you, is evaluate what's important to you. Is it that very personalized experience? Is it communication your way, right? I will tell you, when I was in business with my last partner at the last brokerage I was at, I experienced something completely different in the banking experience. And he went with a different bank. And this bank often came to our office to do paperwork and did things different. And they were a local bank. And I was not used to that. I was used, and I have I bank at a big bank, and I have to go in there and I have to sign paperwork and I have to stop by there. And it was interesting to me that there was another bank that was actually willing to come to me. And so I would encourage you to just kind of think about, like, what are you looking for? Because you might find, it's totally worth this, this small fee extra for me to have that tailored experience or to have that hand holding. So I loved that point as well, Sharon.
And I would tell you that I have learned a lot from clients shopping me. They come back and they'll say, okay, well, this lender said that they could do this and this lender said they can do that. And I'm like, huh, interesting. So I've actually learned a lot from customers shopping me. And it is really upsetting to me when I have a client that's like, well, somebody already pulled my credit. I don't want you to pull my credit. I'm like, and that lender told them, don't let anybody else pull your credit. For me, that's a red flag if a lender says that. So I want everybody to know that's a red flag. If they tell you that if you keep getting your credit pulled, your credit score can drop, they're not confident with their product. I say, go shop me. Go shop me. If you don't think I'm the best, then I wasn't the best.
Well, and I also think here's the thing. I mean, and again, we're giving you this advice as professionals in our industry. And the truth is, I don't want, nor do I expect to be everyone's match. I don't, right? So even on the real estate side, I tell my clients all the time, hey, listen, I can give you a list of preferred people that I know, are going to rise to the occasion and are going to take care of you. But at the end of the day, this is your decision. You need to assemble your dream team, and you need to make sure that, it's an experience. And a lot of times I'm even competing. And I just had a gal recently, I'll be 100% honest. From the minute we started talking, her approach was just a little bit different than my approach, like we just the communication skills. And I jumped on a call with her, and you know what? I really appreciated the call because it brought out a different layer of me in business. Her let's say her tenacity made me rise, and I appreciated that. But I also, when she was like, okay, well, I'm going to take a couple days to decide, I won't lie to you. I was like, and I'm totally okay if that decision is not me. But I think that it's important to know that two things is that, there are professionals out there that are 150% good with saying, you know what, honestly, that is a better deal. That makes more sense for you. And I believe both of us to be those professionals. I absolutely agreed in this case that there was a better agent for her. I don't help people and handhold people through building a house. And so if you're looking for that, if you're, it's one thing to build it in a subdivision or want resources, but if you want me to be the person organizing your contractors and getting your permits, I don't do that. I'm not the person for you. And I'm going to be the first person to say, hey, I think that you're right making the decision to go with this person. And same with the lending. I have had you, Sharon, say, you know what, I can't touch that rate. That's a better rate. I've had other lenders that I work with say, you know what, that's a really killer product. You need to go with that. And I think that is, I think that's how it should be. And I want consumers out there to know that really does happen. And so don't do it in secrecy is what I would say. I think that we are wired and the consumer feels like, like I don't want to tell them. Do because I think that the true professionals are going to absorb that, appreciate that. They're going to want to know about it, and they're going to want to either meet you and say, hey, you know what, I didn't even think about that, I could do that, or hey, let's see what we can do. Or they're going to tell you, that's great, go for it, and help you in the decision making process.
Exactly.
All right, so number two, which gosh, I was like, holy smokes, I don't know if we're going to get through all seven. We could talk about just our number one about the speed dating of lenders for the whole time. But number two, and I think that this one is a powerful one, is making sure that you budget and plan for transitional cost. And so I will say that sometimes these can creep up and be unknown, and you can just have unexpected issues in the transition. But I know that one of the biggest things that a lot of buyers don't know, again, we talked about this last week because they're in the planning stage and they're planning based off of, just what they find and not necessarily speaking to somebody. But a lot of people don't know that first mortgage payment is going to be in the rears, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is your advice around planning for the transitional expenses?
I mean, one thing that we always talk, we tell everybody is the cool thing is you skip your first month's mortgage payment. So you do have that break. You have 30 days before you have to start making that big payment, sometimes 45, sometimes 50. So that does give clients a little bit of a, but the one thing that I always try to do when we talk about closing costs is I always try to save them as much money, because the things that clients don't think about are trash cans, vacuum, trash bags, cleaning supplies. I went to Home Depot and I didn't even fill my basket and it was $500. I don't even know what I bought. So I always, we always, you can't get down to your last penny. You have to consider, things that you need for the house, necessities, not just luxuries, but those necessities. And people have to plan for, are you going to have to are you going to be back to back with mortgage payments? How long is it going to take you to move? Are you going to have to make two mortgage payments? So we do talk to the clients about that when their lease is up. Okay, when is your lease up? When do you have to be out? When is, did they forgive, the last 3 months, to make sure people aren't going to be stuck in a situation where they can't make that first mortgage payment comfortably.
Right. And I also think that something else that's really important around the transition is knowing this. And again, making sure that you're providing your realtor and your lender this information, because we can also strategize on the buy side. So, if I know that my buyer happens to be in a good position and they're on a month-to-month lease, and that, they're hitting it in a stride where they're not actually going to have a payment for 40 days, I might be able to suggest, let's offer a rent back to the seller to incentivize them to, have a little more negotiation power at no cost for 30 days. And are you able to do that? And these are the questions that I think it's really important, again, that we have these conversations up front, because when we're in the heat of the negotiation and there's a time crunch, and for whatever reason, we're having 6 hours before, a 6-hour deadline on an offer, we don't want to be in the thick of it then. We want to know ahead of time, okay, well, we already know that you can afford to give them a rent back, or we know this, or it's going to cost you X amount to give them a rent back. Is it worth it, right? And
Right.
so I think that is also important to look at the transitional cost, so that if and what you can strengthen. We just actually got an offer accepted like this, because we were able to give the seller a 60-day rent back. And in this market, it's brutal for sellers because they have to find a house. And so then they got a little bit more breathing room for them to find a house. So I think that's really good. Okay, so I think that this one is really, really good. And I will tell you, I had a tough conversation with the buyer about this. But number three is it's really easy to get caught up in the superficial. And I see buyers do this all of the time. And so really you go into the house and all of a sudden you don't like the curtains. And I, as creative as I am, and I have an eye for design, I even sometimes can get caught up in the superficial because it's just dated. And here's the things I try to remind my buyers of. At the end of the day, you can take a home down to the studs, but there's things that you can't do, like move it, right?
Right.
And so I think it is really important. I had to tell a buyer the other day, I used to be telling my clients, listen, you have 10 items on your must-have list. The reality is you're going to get 7. Today, I'm going to tell you the reality is, be happy if anything on your list is, if we find anything on your list, right? Really, you're probably going to get 2 of 10 today. And I think that, in the article that we read, Sharon, it talks, and I think this was a really, really powerful example. The person really wanted an attached garage, and having an attached garage was a huge item. And as she got out there hunting and looking, it was very apparent she was not going to get an attached garage. And when she sat down and realized things, she didn't realize she didn't really care if it was attached. She just really needed the garage. And so I think that that's a really good example of, not getting caught up on the superficial.
Right. And also in the article, it talked about, looking past the dust. For me personally, when we bought our house, the master bedroom was packed. Packed. They had a grandma and the grandson both sleeping, 2 different beds, a big, huge desk. And we're like, God, this master bedroom is small. But the rest of the house was great. And then when they moved out, we're like, this master bedroom is huge. We didn't realize how big it was. And so you have to be able to look past that. I remember when I bought my first house, the wall, it was down in Southern California on the beach. The walls were navy. They had these huge chandeliers. And we were able to look past all that. Okay, we can paint the walls white and we can remove chandeliers. Done. You know, but it is sometimes hard to look past those things. They had like dirty carpets. That's easy. Pull them out, you know. And our buyers have to look past that. If paint or flooring can fix the problem, then there's not really a problem. There's only a few things, like you said, that you can't fix. We talk about an HVAC unit. That's a problem. You know, a big leak. That might be a problem. But cosmetic stuff, minor stuff that, especially, you know, when I talk to younger buyers, I'm like, look, you're young, you're strong. Look past it. Owning a home is such an amazing experience that you can look past these little things.
Well, and I think that that's a perfect segue to one of the other points, which is that your home inspection is going to find problems no matter what. And I think that a misconception, and I don't even know if it's a misconception, more as a lack of information, but the average buyer, I think that they don't have expectations and they're not prepared for expectations over the home inspection. And so something I really think is important that you know is every home inspection is going to turn something up, right? 9 times out of 10, even on brand new construction, it's going to turn something up. And the reality is that you're looking at a couple things in that home inspection. You're looking at basically a to-do list. Welcome to homeownership. Here's your to-do list. And it's prioritized of what needs to be done immediately and what you could take some time to do, right? And that to-do list really is for you. And then what you're looking for are deal breakers, right? Like absolute, unequivocally, without a doubt, I am not comfortable moving forward if this is not remedied, right? And you do, as the buyer, get the power to kind of differentiate, but it is important to understand that this is not a time that you're just going to, I mean, a lot of times I will get buyers that'll say, okay, well, this, you know, this outlet isn't working, this doesn't work, this window screen is missing, and it just becomes very long and tedious. That is the to-do list that's for you. It's the higher ticket, big items, you know, and usually home inspectors will even flag these red, your health and safety concerns that you want to have addressed and part of the negotiation. And I also think that it's important to know the market that you're in. So, I mean, in our particular market right now, I have found myself when a buyer asks me about repairs, I really feel like unless it's a massive safety and health issue right now that you don't ask for repairs. I mean, that's just the truth because 9 out of 10 offers aren't asking for them. And so what do you think about this? Are you kind of on the same page, Sharon?
I love the fact that you said your home inspection is actually just your to-do list.
As I said it, I was like, was that too harsh? Was that too harsh?
No, it's the truth. And when we did our home inspection on our house, it was our to-do list. We had to get the garage fixed. Like you said, little bit of leak under the sink. We had to change a pipe out. No big deal. It was all no big deal stuff, but none of it was a deal breaker. So I love the fact that you said that. I'm going to start using that more often. Like that was just your to-do list. We have, don't worry about your inspection. Just write it down. The other thing you have to remember is that we also 90% of the time are putting home warranties on clients' homes. So anything that's like, oh, what if this gets bigger? What if this gets worse? That's what you get a home warranty for. And we had a couple items on our list that we couldn't figure out how to fix. And after 30 days, we just called in our home warranty and $100 issue at the garage. It was $100 fee for the garage for somebody to come out. It was a $400 job that we only paid $100 for. So our home warranty definitely backed us up if it was a job that we ended up not being able to do.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, the thing, I think, again, you know, one of the other takeaways is to not be afraid to ask all the questions, right? And I think that the thing that you want to remember is the home inspection for me is acting as an information, is additional information for me in my purchase. And so I wanted to know every single thing that I might be looking at, whether it's now or in the future. Like, this is kind of funny, but kind of not funny. You know, my second inspection revealed a weak spot in our roof and they suggested, like, you know, not keeping snow up there. So like yesterday I was like, oh babe, maybe we shouldn't hang out at the dining room. Like maybe, like, I remember and I know, and so that is on our to-do list. But I was like, maybe we should move dinner for, you know, while there's a pile of snow up there. But point being, is that I still made the choice as a buyer to move forward. It was still worth it for me. And so really what we want you to know is we want you to make the most informed decision. So we want you to know, hey, this house is going to need XYZ. But also that ties back into the whole superficial, because I will tell you, I had a vision for my house. It was weird. It was quirky. It had like some different things happening. And the family I bought my house from actually raised their family here. And he recently was over and was like, man, is it crazy to see what somebody else's vision could do? And so, I mean, he spent 20 years in the house and didn't see what I saw, in 20 minutes in the house. And so I think that if you can really, take these things and just apply them, and also really compare them to what you're trying to do. Like in that article, she realized home ownership is important to me. And so if I have to run in, 10 feet of outside to get into my garage, but I don't have to scrape my windows, it's good. Like I don't have to scrape my windows. I can handle the 10-foot walk to the garage. And so I think it's one of those things of, can I handle changing the carpets? Can I handle painting? And in this market, again, hopefully you have some great professionals that you can lean into. But one of the things we're telling our clients is that could be your advantage. You being willing to take the house and change the carpets and handle the paint, that could be your competitive edge and your competitive advantage. And it also could help you to be offering on the house that doesn't have 50 eyes on it, because a house that has 50 people making an offer is the one that the work is done, right?
Right.
And there's some advantages in being willing to roll up your sleeves and actually do some of that work yourself.
Yes.
I know we have, let's see, which ones haven't I touched on? Because the article had 7 and I jumped because you gave me the perfect segue to do so. So, so this one is, a little bit of a different topic, but this one is that knowing that you might be responsible for the property abstract. So do you have any experience or feedback on that one?
No, I mean, that is a little bit more in some different states. I mean, we make sure that our clients have title insurance. We don't ever do anything outside of title insurance. So I think that one's kind of a null situation for us.
Yeah. With that said, when I read it, I thought the same thing. Our state has title insurance. We have the title officers. It's a moot point. But let me just speak to it as what I would say to my own buyers. Read your preliminary title reports. Talk to your title officers. I can't tell you how many times clients are making a decision at the signing table of the way that they're going to take title. Like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Let's take title this way, or let's do this. And so again, I just think that you should consider yourself an information collector during this journey and ask questions. We as a industry are guilty of being in hyper go mode right now. And just think about it. I mean, what is the mortgage industry seeing? Like an extra $1 trillion in business this year, something crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the same with the real estate. And obviously that means the title companies are seeing it. So we are guilty of just being in hyper go mode. And as the consumer, we want to empower you to just say, time out. Like hey, can you explain stuff to me? You sent me this package. What is this package? Should I read this package? And here's, I'm guilty of asking this question. Should I read that? I feel like my professional advice is read everything. That is my professional advice. Go with that and not with what I'm guilty of. Do I need to read this? Because I mean, even if you read it and it's not anything you have to actually apply, it gives you information and it gives you context. And every time you have more data, you make better decisions.
I would say that the only thing I'll add to that is that we had a client, you and I did, and this was back when I could go to the signings pre-COVID, and I was at the signing, and they read the whole title policy, and what they found was that first-time home buyers got a discount. So right there, they were like, "Hey, we're first-time home buyers. Do we get a discount?" So actually reading that title policy saved them $200.
Oh, okay. But here's my question: did they read it prior or right then?
She read it prior, and so
okay, good. So a nice way. Be nice to your professionals and read things prior, not at the moment of.
Brought it up the moment of, and I was like, that was a good catch. I didn't even know there was that discount. So, but she read the whole thing before she showed up to closing. And I was like, that was a prepared buyer, and it saved them $200. So I guess it was worth the read.
I feel like I know what buyer that was. I feel like I know what buyer that was. And we do see the differences. I mean, and here's the thing, we want We want it to be a very enjoyable experience for you. And I'm a firm believer of this. You can have a bad transaction and a good experience. And the truth is, especially in this market, we can't protect you from all levels of turbulence. It's going to happen, but we're going to rise and we're going to help you navigate that. But something that we're suggesting you do is not live in the hype moment. So not live in the, oh my gosh, I got the approval. Okay, I'm just going to go with whatever anybody says. And I just want this to happen. I just want this to happen. I've been guilty of that myself. I've been so excited and so nervous and literally counting every day down because I didn't think it was going to happen, that I didn't want to ruffle feathers. I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to ask too many questions. And what we're saying to you is please, please, please ask all the questions, read the information, make sure that you're getting all the information so that you don't look back. I mean, and you're going to anyways, but we don't want you to look back and say, oh, I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that. We want you to say, hey, I was prepared for that. So I think that this has been a really great Money Matters. What do you think, Sharon?
Yes.
And I think we have a new coin phase. So don't be surprised if our marketing team comes out with a new phrase that says your home inspection is really your to-do list. So I always tell them, look for the good ones. There it is. But thank you so much for joining me. I love, love, love getting to do this and just help people at every Friday, start of every Friday. So as always, if you already have professionals, please take this advice, lean into them, talk to them, and allow them the opportunity to help you out. But if you don't, we would love the opportunity to get to be your realtor and your lender. And you can always get a hold of me by direct messaging me or texting me at 775-379-8344. And Sharon, what is your number?
949-201-8940.
Yay, we love it. All right, Randy Mendez with the Mendez Home Team at EXP and Sharon Thompson at Alameda Home Mortgage. And we'll see you next Friday.
Happy Friday.
Bye, guys.